They're not on my table behind me? Ah. Okay. I have to find them, man. I have a rough idea where they might be. I thought I put them in the pile, though. Oh, yeah, I'm the worst, Roddy. I'm sorry. All right. Into this series, guys. Top left is going to be Dark in the semifinals here of the Kung Fu Cup, taking on Clem, Terran player in the bottom right-hand side, as we get into game number 1 of this best of 3. Let's see who's going to have a shot against Solar in the grand finals of today as we get on through. Rax Gasol coming up, SCV on the way through as well, so yeah, everything pretty regular in that regard. Double Rax at the front, though, is something that we don't see Clem do this a lot, right? Like, this is something that isn't quite... It's not quite a Clem build, even though Clem is very good at micro and controlling the game, etc. Maybe you should expect him to do these kind of things. It's not something I really recall Clem doing a whole bunch before now, so... Triple Rax as well. Wow, so he's going to go very aggressive on the Reapers. Even more interesting, check the server of this one. This is being played on West. And it being played on West, obviously, is kind of like a little bit of a ping advantage to Dark. And now Clem's going to engage in an all-out micro battle. You see what I'm saying, right? He's going to engage in an all-out micro battle with Dark having better ping. I mean, this could be a very interesting call. I'm genuinely intrigued to see if Clem can pull this off. I mean, again, I absolutely think he can. He's the kind of player that should be able to do these kind of things. It's just, like, wouldn't have been what I predicted out of him. He's usually so confident playing his just straight-up macro TvZ. But his straight-up macro TvZ has hardly been the absolute go-to, never fail when it comes to playing against Dark, right? So in that regard, I guess, actually, maybe it is good to switch it up. Maybe he has just seen Bjorn have so much success against Dark with this down. He's like, yep, time to do this one, man. Time to mix it up a little bit on my side. That's a pretty reasonable way to approach it as Reaper comes in, nibbles out a couple of these lings for a few moments. Obviously, lings coming through, chasing around a little bit, and we do have 6 lings made. As an extra Reaper shows up, this is where we can really start to add some extra damage on, and especially could be the time where you start to get through some of these queens. If you can pick through those queens, you can absolutely put your opponents into some dangerous positions. So something else for us to watch as a couple of lings begin to go down. Another Reaper shows up. Queen will continue to take some hits here. Actually taking a lot of hits, half HP already. Another grenade bumps that Queen backward. Another grenade keeps it back once more. We are really trying to send this right now as we're going to get rid of one Queen. Remember, this is 3 Rax Reapers, so every kill adds up that much extra because Clem is going to have that many more units continuing to rally forward. He lost one Reaper there, which is a shame because it wasn't far from beginning to regenerate. The other Reaper did regenerate, that was on low HP. As we continue to dance. Link speed is not even in sight, by the way, so if you don't have link speed in sight, are you in trouble here as Dark? Maybe a little bit, right? Like, if you don't have link speed sometime soon, what's actually going to help you defend against this eventually? One benefit he does have is he's gotten rid of the, well, he's gotten his 3rd base down. He has killed a few of these Reapers. Like I say, though, just no link speed has got to be a little bit terrifying. As, yeah, you can play around this Spine Crawler, but Clem can also play around the Spine Crawler, quite literally. Just don't go running into that. And he should be able to get a fair amount done. So, new Queens are popping. He does have the escape route to the left-hand side of this natural. This is why Greswan was the OG map to kind of play this build on. There's a couple of the lings there trying to get back onto creep spread. And again, for me, this is a countdown to ling speed. Ling speed will change up a lot of what can happen. The Spine comes in at the front. That limits where Clem can go, although the main base is obviously a pretty reasonable target. Grenade on the ramp is going to keep the Queens away from creep for a little while longer. That means even if they had the energy, they could not transfuse each other up. And Clem is just going to make sure to keep on keeping that on. I mean, the only issue I have is still that Clem is losing a lot of Reapers. And I say a lot, he's actually only lost 3. It feels like he lost more than that throughout these trades, honestly. I think Dark's... Okay, I actually do think Dark's in too much trouble now. He's losing a lot more lings. Ling speed is finally going to finish. He's going to have basically no lings left by the time the ling speed is done. He's done nothing but produce lings this entire time, and Clem's already been focused on a follow-up. Again, now we start to lose a few more Reapers again. We killed off another Queen. Queens have obviously been running around everywhere, not fully kind of focused on injecting or anything too, so that's also a problem that comes into play here. My goodness. Just kind of a bit of madness across the board here as our Reapers do escape away down that left-hand side. We do have our CC coming up. Starport on the way. Reactor still coming through. Lings Gonna get us around. Clem pulls the Beyond. I like pulling out the Beyond because he really was the first to do this. The grenade and then full switch direction with the Reapers is a good way to kind of get away from those Zerglings. Give yourself a bit more distance, as we will try and just trade out as best we can at the tail end. Clem has a worker lead behind this, and that's why I'm not immediately kind of worried for Clem losing these Reapers, because he's already done a lot to have the worker lead. He clearly has the Marine count to be safe in case his opponent attacks him. I actually do think that for the moment, Clem is kind of fine right now. I think he's okay. Like I say, for the moment at least. It's going to be seeing the Evo Chamber starting up from Dark Overlords as well. Clem finishes up Stim. He's already got Medivacs coming out as well. So again, the macro behind this has been 100% on point. Is obviously when someone like Clem plays a build like this, you expect the macro to be on point, but it's always still very cool to see that that is in fact the case. That is how it's played out. Because there are worlds where the macro slips up and then suddenly you don't have Stim Pack and Medivacs and all of this finishing. And this isn't as scary of a follow-up, and Dark builds drones and has a great day. In this case, I don't think he's going to be building many drones because he's going to need units soon. And I don't think he's going to be having a great day. I think this follow-up attack is going to hit hard, man. I think it's going to hit real hard. Marines come over, Ling's taking some damage. Marines coming through, Spine taking some extra shots. Lings want to come in from the bottom side as well. See what they can perhaps find there. We've seen the rest of these Marines still holding the map. In the end, Clem doesn't push forward too aggressively. I thought he might be a bit more kind of just straight in and kind of dealing damage here. Not obviously the case. As we come back up through the center, just have our Marines going to continue to hold the map control. Obviously, keeping the creep spread back is one of the massive benefits you get from these kind of openings as well. So having kept the creep spread back going to mean that Clem can be a lot more aggressive on the follow-ups in this game, and for a good portion of the game too, because now he's already keeping the creep further back than it would have been, and he can maintain that in a big way as well. We do find ourselves an Overlord on that high ground, just going to knock that down pretty easily. Medevac's working around, the Queen is there straight away to be able to punch them back a little bit. We lose two Queens. The Lings on a massive counterattack of their own. Clem didn't actually do the effect, the follow-up necessary to get himself that extra Queen there. He probably could have killed it. Counterattack then from Dark. Lings are going to get into the natural, even no raised depot. That means those siege tanks are in trouble, and this is where Dark turns games around. So often he's in trouble, and he finds the counterattack that just does so much. The only issue I have is obviously right now those Marines on the other side are putting in work as well, but maybe not 16 workers killed amount of work. That definitely seems problematic. That seems like an issue. And Clem, he does have more Marines on the other side of this as well, so it's not just the ones you're seeing right now. Yeah, he's still getting some kills, but I mean, he lost 21 workers, and there's still Lings in his base. And the problem is, it's not just workers. He's losing a lot of his reinforcements as well. That is the biggest issue of all. This one counterattack is actually causing Clem a lot of trouble, and he just has not equalized the damage dealt with the damage he was able to deal across the map. So Dark getting away with this. He's going to take this game into his own favor for the first time, I think, in the game so far, because off the Reapers, he was definitely in a troublesome spot. Now he's actually going to be in a much better spot, looking a lot better for himself. And it does feel as though Dark is, like I say, right back on top of this game. Clem still has some advantages. He still has the faster upgrades, for example. 1-1 against just +1 right now. 2-2 is already starting, so he will have advantages still. And I wouldn't say he's so far behind on workers or anything that this should just be like a, you know, can never catch Dark back up again. This is still pretty competitive, I would imagine. But it's definitely, considering the position we were in originally, a massive reset on the position in this game, because Dark was previously like definitely in trouble, man. He was struggling. He did not really have the numbers he needed at the start. Marines and Medivacs coming around this left-hand side. We're going to get rid of a little bit more creep spread here. As we do have the Lings and the Bane's just going to threaten. Obviously, no Baneling speed still. Hasn't even started that up. That's something that Dark also needs to focus on at some stage. Some of these techs and upgrades, which he's just kind of not really bypassed, but just sort of not had a chance to go into yet even, I guess. Because it has been a busy game. He put a lot of investment into that counterattack, which brought him back into it. And Clem going to try and stay aggressive, as obviously Clem does. He loves using these medevacs to their utmost ability. He loves trying to get every single ounce of value out of each and every one of his units as well. So absolutely expect him to be extremely active from here on out, because he just does not want to, he wants to control this game again. He wants to get back to that kind of point where it's all about Clem and a little bit less about Dark. Queens come through, a couple queens already taking some bits of damage, and we do have our medevacs once again going to be forced to lift up and back away. All the way up to the top side, going to be unloading the rest of our Marines here and just seeing the Marauders, the Marines, all of this still coming out, +2/+2, finishing up as well, so Clem will have an upgrade lead again. We'll see if that helps him to take some of these fights as he gets a couple of queens very quickly here. And again, just lifts up, gets out, trying to maintain units to the best of his ability. He knows that retaining units is one of the best things he can do for just kind of overall value in this game. And that's absolutely one of the ways you kind of, get ahead of the Zerg, especially when the Zerg economy is good. In this case, when the Zerg economy isn't good, then even more so. Because when that Zerg economy isn't good enough, you can 100% just take a big advantage off of that. So, yeah, you can just trade. If you trade well and the Zerg cannot rebuild, yeah, basically just GG's, right? So Clem looking for the efficiency here, wants to keep on fighting, make use of these upgrades. He is going to start his own +3 attack at the very least, so he will continue to maintain an upgrade lead further in the game. That one Widowmine, man, it was so close to recharging, and if it was recharged, that would have been goodbye to a lot of units of Dark. There's no way he would have saved him, microed himself out of that one, I don't think. But maybe he went in knowing the Widowmine was on cooldown, and that's why he, played it and attacked through the way he did. Knowing the Widowmine was on cooldown, knowing he still has some time to do this. I mean, Dark is good enough that that could absolutely be the case. This time a couple of Widowmines go off on the front sets of Lings. I'm still up about 20 army supply. He's going to knock down this base, so that's a cancel. I was going to say maybe the Hydras get jumped on a little bit here. In the end, they didn't at first, but now they kind of are getting jumped on again, so it's kind of a little funky. Absolutely getting a little funky, in fact, as we come back through. Bioforce back around the top side of the map here, and it's going to be aiming around the top. Knocking down a little bit of crew spread to start us out, and we'll be seeing this hatchery. A few Hydras near it. If you can keep this basement coming online, even better, although that might be a little bit challenging to really achieve. One might not be quite truly fully possible. Medevacs load up. Going to move back towards the main base again, where we have a couple of queens that are immediately going to be in trouble. One medevac going down, the rest of these Marines are going to stem up. Zergling's still taking a good chunk of damage. We actually get rid of all the Banelings. If Clem can just jump on the Banelings like this, what confidence from him, my goodness. That is actually kind of huge, man. He just jumped on a ton of Banes and was able to keep himself pushing forward because the Banelings were then gone. There was no splash damage to contend. Wow. Marines over here going to get some drones as well, and I do think Clem is once again doing the damage to put himself back on top of this game one. I think he's getting there, guys. I think he's doing enough. 11 more drones have gone down. And we are just going to be seeing Dark eventually saying, GG's, can't keep up with this, can't keep up with Clem. In this game, at least. Clem opens with a 1-0 lead. In the top right-hand corner, we're going to be down a game with our red Zerg in the top right. It is going to be Dark. Taking on the blue Terran in the bottom left-hand side, repping Team Liquid, it is Clem. As we get into game 2 of the series, and Clem has the first game lead. I liked what he did. Did something different from what Clem usually does. Took real good control of those Reapers, put himself into some very good positions with it all. Yeah, just put himself into a good spot. There's a couple drones coming out. We're all going to be seeing our SCVs on the way. Barracks on the way up. There's just going to be a hatchery first from Dark, so nothing immediately kind of like, oh my god, aggressive from him. Obviously, you could maybe see him, like a gasp first, and then maybe it's like, oh my god, he's going to go like super early roaches or something. These are absolutely questions we kind of ask ourselves of Dark a lot of the time. Hatch, gas, spawn and pool, all the good stuff on the way up here. Game number 2. Raw Blood as a map is kind of the kind of down the middle map, right? Pretty even. Not really like massively biased one way or the other. I wouldn't even say that Terran's super love late game on this map versus like Zerg or so. Really is kind of, you know, one of these just straight up, like I say, down the middle between the two races. They're both kind of pretty happy to see. Usually Royal Blood ends up as like a map 3 or like a map 5 because usually everyone says like, oh, well, this map's a little bit better for me, so I'll take that one before I take Royal Blood. In this case, we get to Royal Blood map 2. Interesting to see what the third map is. Probably like a Babylon or so. This map pool is actually kind of fascinating. You consistently see people taking, I don't want to say less than ideal maps, because I don't think that's necessarily the case, but there's a fair amount of variance. I mean, obviously in terms of actual vetoes, the variance isn't really there, but in terms of like what order the map's playing and so on, then actually we do get to see a pretty good amount of variance in that regard. Reaper comes around, the few Zerglings get chased away. And just going to be seeing this, obviously starting dance is not going to be as severe as last time because, well, there's only ever going to be one Reaper. And this generally should only be able to do so much as, don't tell me we get the drone kill! Ooh. Mental victory for Clem if nothing else. Obviously a drone is nice, but it's the kind of thing that should never really be allowed to happen, especially a drone that's in your main. Never mind like on the natural or something. It was in your main base. I don't care if it was about to transfer to the low ground and that's what put it in a weird place. The Reaper was in your main and killed a drone, man. Like, that is a feels bad man from Dark. That is not what he really wanted to start out with here. So, yeah, I don't think he's going to be immediately impressed. But impressed or not, Dark, that's what happened. Kind of just kind of suck that one up and just get into the next part of this, right? Absolutely. Alrighty then. Is going to be seeing our Reaper poking at the front. A couple of queens are going to sit there, just chilling out for a couple of moments. This will be coming up. A couple more queens on the way. And we are going to see Clem go a bit of a different route. He's going to go for the Cyclone after a couple of Hellions in the medevac too, so he's going to have some Cyclone harassment. Very fun, like I say, definitely a bit unique and a bit different to what we would usually see. So Clem, yeah, just not kind of going for the gold standard of TvZ. Very happy to change this up a little, do things a little differently. As our medevac extra marines all continuing out for the moment. Two more Hellions on the way from Clem. Cyclone locks on. And you're going to see that Overlord going down. I mean, that's already a good start, because now Dark is supply blocked. And behind this, we're going to go Cloak Banshees as well, man. I love the technicality of this build from Clem. You know, just one thing into the next. One of those typically just very annoying Terran build orders, right? Where they do one thing to harass you and annoy you, then if that goes well, the next thing along is already going to annoy you further, and it's going to be even harder to hold. That was a weird load-up sound. No, that sounded like the Cyclone loaded up 4 times. Hellions is going to grab a tumor on the left side. I mean, any tumor kills are going to be massive, especially when they're not guaranteed like that. That was not necessarily something that was going to happen here, as Clem just takes a few lings before he loads up again, and you're starting to see a Clem that feels confident, a Clem that feels good. When Clem's playing, you know, making little plays like that, little pick-offs and lift-ups and so on, that is when Clem is at his absolute best, because he's absolutely filled with confidence. And confidence is an incredible tool for a Terran player, because a confident Terran takes the fights you don't necessarily expect them to take as a Zerg. They take the fights that you maybe don't expect them to win as a viewer, even, right? And you take those fights and you can just be so much more aggressive because you believe in yourself. There's so much power to that. It's almost poetic, I suppose. What's absolutely not poetic is the fact that Clem's playing mech. That is not something that Clem does. Clem plays bio. Mech is... I mean, I can pinpoint like 2 times maybe when Clem played mech. It's really not that common. I mean, he played mech against Reyno 1 time in an ESL, in a DreamHack regional finals. It was like game 2 or so. What was the map? I don't remember what the map was, but it was like, it was crazy because Clem played mech, right? Like, that was the reason it was wild. And, yeah, honestly, kind of, still kind of feel like that. I mean, if he plays mech, it's just not the expectation. And this harassment opening has been fantastic. 9 drones going down. And we'll see if he can keep that up, man. Obviously, he's playing a little bit of a But yeah, I mean, he's playing what will be eventually, I suppose, a bit of an aggressive situation. Well, he's just going to be able to keep on going with the Cyclones and hopefully can keep his opponent pinned back. That's one of the things Mech struggles with, right? Is that you do all this damage early game and then you never get to fight in a way that allows you to capitalize, and that's obviously pretty crap. But maybe this time around Clem can keep that pressure up enough that he can capitalize on the damage that he did earlier. The fact that Dark may not be able to afford some of the usual defenses he might get into. Alright, well, our Hellions are still just chilling out. We're going to see the Cyclones locking on. A couple of Queens taking some damage. An auto turret will go down. Our Queens will obviously have to deal with that. It's not as tanky as it used to be, but it's still nice to be able to put some damage out, right? And you can see these Queens are starting to go down. Cyclones do not have mag field yet, so once they have mag field, these Queens are going to melt even sooner. That's going to be even more of a problem. Hellions, Cyclones pressing in again. The Hatchery continues to take a bunch of damage. As we continue through, we see a few of those Banes getting knocked down as well. Hatchery will still be in trouble over on the edges. A couple of Hellion shots going to come through still. Not able to find too much. Obviously, this base going down. The fourth base dropping. Clem is just already in a fantastic position, guys. There's a reason this is not going the way of Dark, and it's because Clem's just put himself in too great of a spot. His Lings are going to try and run by. Let's see what they can do. Let's see if they can make a bit of a difference. I just don't think it's happening quite yet. I don't think it's going on. I mean, the counterattack is starting to get some SCVs, mind you. Clem putting his SCVs in the corner to minimize losses is going to save a lot of SCVs. If they were out in the open, that would have been a lot more kills. So Clem, a little bit of micro, but that little bit of micro used consistently really added up. Dark still just bleeding out units, and Hyperflight Rotor's even on the way, as apparently we're going to go full-on Banshee mode with this, because why the hell not? Clem is just absolutely destroying Dark in two very different ways from Game 1 to Game 2. Dark is just not getting much of a chance to play StarCraft. I mean, he had one counterattack in Game 1 that was somewhat successful and maybe made it look a little bit closer. Here in Game 2, the counterattack did nothing. I mean, if you told me Clem had written down how he wanted this game to go, I'd believe that this was the script, man. Because there is absolutely just dominance being shown from Clem. His builds have worked. He's putting good damage. He's gotten good shots off. He just keeps on putting himself in a great position, man. He really, truly does. How's that Banshee's going to hang out over on the right side. Obviously, there's a bunch of them now. They've got speed, so they can move around even, more quickly, more aggressively, find even more openings. That's good from Dark. 19 SCVs just died to Banelings. That is the kind of play that's going to put Dark in a much better position, right? That's the kind of play that's going to help Dark massively, as these Hellions need to try and find a way to get rid of the Lings so that they can continue to escape, and I think they've honestly done a pretty good job of it. A lot of these Lings have gone down, and obviously Dark is clearly not happy enough about that. That just wasn't enough stuff. As this Hydra started to come out, the Cyclones have Magfield, and they're locking onto these Hydras, don't have speed, so getting back on creep alone was quite the challenge for them. Dark has nothing to do but to GG out, and Clem takes a convincing 2-0 victory in the semi-final, sets us up for a TvZ Grand Final versus Solar. And that is where we are going to be standing.